Yeah, Stranger Things, volume 1 is out, and let me tell you something. It keeps getting stranger and thingier. All right. No, it's even though these episodes average around over 70 minutes, they keep you engaged with how complicated and interesting all these sub stories are going, and it'll be fun to see how they sum up the end of this season. I'll say that. But I love this show. What do you guys think about this season?
Again, I was not prepared to really enjoy Stranger Things because I haven't really enjoyed it since the first season.
Hmm.
Um, but I gotta say, once I got past the initial, tuning into the style of acting and the style of directing, I was captivated for all 7 episodes. I will say, I think they took their time in places where they really didn't need to. So there's no reason it has to be as long as it is. But
Hmm.
it seems kind of like a victory lap for them. So let them enjoy it.
Do you think that was the plan from the start, guys? To make them this long, or they just started writing or shooting this thing and they were like, oh, we should
I
tell
think
the
Well,
with
story?
no, I
COVID,
mean, just,
they had that break, so of course
yeah.
they have more time to work on this story. So of course they're gonna want to expand this as much as they can.
Well,
Fair.
okay. So let me point out a few things from a production standpoint, right? You have to consider these one of the biggest things we kept talking about over the show over the years is these kids keep getting bigger, right? They're growing,
Yeah.
and kids grow fast. You can just tell there were some flashback sequences in the episodes from volume 1 that have dropped, where especially the Sadie Singh's character is she's reminiscing about right where she's about to sort of die. She
Mhm.
doesn't die. Spoiler warning, but you see just how much older they are now, how different they look from those earlier seasons in that montage alone. And one of the biggest things that you have to keep in mind with this show is they had like what 2-3 year gap.
3
So
years.
one of the things that so one of the things that to take advantage of was, hey, look, I think what ended up happening, they were going to shoot one season's worth of stuff, which was going to be about half of what we're actually getting. And then they said, okay, well, I guess we're going to do this as like one big season. And it just kept going. As far as episode structures, the way this whole show is shot, you could very easily cut out the intro credits and just slap all of those together into one 9 hour long thing with very little editing work, and the breaks would be pretty seamless. So
Yeah.
I think it was a combination of they planned for them episodes being as long as they are, but also I think then they were like, well, we got a lot more room than we thought we would, and you just ended up with this 9 hours for just
But they work
7 of 9
because
episodes
look at
of the
look at
season.
all of us. We went
Yeah.
into this thing hoping to watch, two episodes, and we ended up watching the whole. I mean, me and Andrew, we watched the whole thing. You guys
Yeah.
are almost done.
Yeah.
They are managing to make it engaging. So we are here, complaining about the length of it, but at the end of the day, we didn't mind it. We loved
Yeah.
every minute of it. I mean,
Yeah.
majority of it.
You know, I think over. I don't want to say I loved every minute of it. I do think the Russia
Yeah, that was
scenes
overkill.
were like you could cut them out and it wouldn't affect any of the rest of the plot, unless I'm missing something at the end of this season where it's
That's
like
probably what it is.
I'm
I'm willing
sure,
to bet that
I'm
that
sure,
ties together at late in the show, but
Oh,
up
for
until now it's
sure.
been so
Um,
separate. Yeah.
but
oh
there's
yeah.
there's so much. There's a lot of fat to trim if you really wanted to. There's cutting back to things that we've seen 100 times. And it's there's just some scenes that could just be edited a lot quicker. The pacing is slow on this one, and the storytelling is good because they're taking their time, and you sort of get to mull things over. They kind of
And
hand you
they
some things, but
they go back all the way to season 1.
they
That's, I
do.
think,
Yeah.
They
I
do.
was
I don't
quite
know.
Roland,
shocked.
you smirked at the whole they take their time.
I
You have a comment?
Yes, I do, and I'm glad you said something, Daniel. But I think we have to remember this show started as a horror sci-fi, and we're seeing a lot of this horror thing. And to really, make the experience as best as it can, it's got to be a little bit of slow burn. It's got to make you want it. It
Yeah,
can't.
no,
And with all the stories going on, we can't just go all at once because it just won't be digestible. But you were going to say
Understood.
something.
Understood. I will say, in terms of the makeup, the monsters, the actual horror elements in this, I'm a big
It's
fan.
gory.
Yeah.
This is the best it's ever looked. This is this. It hasn't been this scary since the first season. I thought middle two were just kind of funny, honestly, and I didn't really,
Yeah.
I didn't buy into it so much. This time, the writing has been great. There's a
Mm-hmm.
backstory. It all ties together, which I really like. And then one of the more charming things from season one was the whole Ouija board way of communicating.
The
through
lights.
with the lights and
lights.
the
Yeah.
on the wall. Brilliant. They bring it back in
Yeah.
such a clever way. And again, we were talking about cell phones before, how they have to come up with these different ways of communicating in the 1980s in the moment. And they do it in this clever way. They tie in some extra nostalgia. I won't spoil this because I was really charmed by it. But
Yeah.
everything worked really nicely here.
It's almost like as if they didn't have access to 80s, they wouldn't be able to bring it. Like they really used 80s to their advantage rather than stylistic choice, as it was happening with the last two seasons. And I think that's what we all struggled with. That's why we weren't excited, but they got us, because look at us.
Yeah.
We love this season. We absolutely love it.
I agree.
Watching this show, like a couple episodes in, and at that point realizing I'll be here all night long watching the rest of this, I was just thinking this show is everything. Literally, that's what the same thought kept coming to my mind, because I watched Top Gun earlier in the week, and I was like, oh my God, now this is a summer blockbuster that I can enjoy and love, and I can watch it like over and over again. Then I watched Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I was a little more lukewarm to it, and I was like, oh, it's the same old Disney Plus crap, in the sense that, you know, you get short episodes and there's very little plot progression, and the first episode was good, the second not so good. Then I watched Stranger Things, and you watch Stranger Things, and this show has a little bit of everything. What you get in this show is you get the comedy, you get the comic relief, you're getting some of the self-aware humor. Like literally there's points in the show where they're trying to poke holes in the logic of the whole Upside Down and the Dungeons and Dragons of it all. Then there's a whole thing of they're playing on this whole idea of how Dungeons and Dragons was basically stigmatized as like this
Part of the
evil game
satanic
back in the
panic.
80s.
Yeah.
And right, satanic.
Still
And they lean
is.
into that. And I'm like, there's so much happening. And then one thing that, Roland, you brought this up, like where this show does a great job with, especially in this season, and even in seasons prior, they have a big cast, and a cast that has kept on growing seemingly. They've added new characters every season. But in order to give each character their due, you need to spend a good amount of time with them. You can't just rush the stories or make it feel like you're not spending enough time with each character. And I think what this season specifically does is it addresses that idea where you saw the first episode spend most of its time setting up where each character is. And then you get the whole, you know, why are we watching this season in particular, setup and conflict begins at the end of the episode. And then what I also liked is they didn't kill like somebody new every episode. They sort of like went through the progression of one episode they kill somebody, and then, you know, then the next victim gets taken, and then a few episodes later, and all of it is sort of tied into the story of the show. It balances out the humor well. It balances out the acting. The action. I mean to say the action well. And what you mentioned, Andrew, like the previous seasons in all of them, you kind of felt like they were trying to be more Goonies than like a proper horror psychological thriller. And this season, they're like, okay, we know what we are.
Well,
We're not gonna pretend to be.
They're giving the story some of
adult
its own
Goonies.
weight, and they're actually treating it like its own story, which is different, because everything else has been, you know, a nostalgia trap. It's been, you know, here's things that you remember seeing from the 80s. Here's music you remember. And by the way, a lot of good music.
Soundtrack.
Yeah.
But
Oh my God.
but it's
Yes.
I love
This-
the soundtrack.
this season they are really giving everything its due. They're giving us Eleven's backstory. They're showing us relationships that are changing. They're delving into the creation of the Upside Down and how it all works, and we're getting more
You're
information
spoiling it.
about things that we actually care about. I'm not spoiling anything.
Okay.
We're getting more information is all I'm saying about all these things.
Yeah.
You know, it's also plunging forward, and there is going to be some resolution, it looks like. But really, like, the writing is getting better out there, whoever's doing the writing.
I will say I do love how these characters interact with each other because they feel real. I know, Andrew, you were saying something earlier, but they're over dramatic sometimes, but that's what a high schooler is. You know, they're cringy, they're weird, they're trying to be cool, but they end up dorky, or they're trying to be
over the
dorky,
top.
just
Yeah.
sound weird. But that was high school. Like for me,
I agree.
Yeah,
And
everybody I talked to is the worst.
Especially with Mike, I have to be like, okay, is it the acting or is it the fact that he's 17 and am I just frustrated with 17-year-old me?
Yeah.
And I cringe thinking like, I was like that. Because
I will say I hate Mike Wheeler. I'm just gonna say it. I'm not a Mike Wheeler fan. I haven't been. The last time I liked him was season 1.
What about Will Byers? Don't you guys think he was just completely neglected this season, though?
No, because apparently
him and Lucas, I think were neglected. But Andrew,
Lucas is that whole subplot is just odd, but it's again realistic that like he would join a sports team and he'd feel that friction.
Yeah, he does want to be a weirdo.
Yeah, and with Will, there was an article or a video where they started talking about how they're. I guess we'll spoil this, but he's apparently gay in this, and he's.
Oh, I got hints of that for a while.
This is, I think, that was last season.
They hint harder.
Heavily last season. So
yeah, exactly.
So it's that's
why
another thing.
That's why it was so awkward between him and Mike, because he kind of came out to him, didn't he?
Some of the dialogue is like very on the nose about that, even in this one there, especially like when, after Elle leaves, I won't, go into details, and they're sitting in her bedroom and Callie, and they're talking about that conversation. Felt like as an actor, what Will Byers was going for was very different than what Mike was supposed to be taking away from that conversation.
It was a smartly constructed scene. I mean, just the line is pretty good. If I can spoil it, he goes, because Mike's staring at this note. He goes, just staring at the note isn't going to change it. And then he just stares at Mike.
Yeah,
and it's like, that's good acting. That's a good choice.
I will say it's kind of like a role reversal, because Finn Wolfhard's character Richie was kind of in this dynamic in It Chapter 2.
Right.
But it's the opposite, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's just like longing for a friend, but feeling weird.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about new characters? I absolutely love
this
Eddie.
Guy.
Argyle.
I
love Argyle.
This dude just made me laugh every time.
Yeah.
And especially when they're high and they're at that junkyard. I'm like, some of those scenes are like the best moments of this season so far.
Or the risotto.
One thing to remind you guys, the season's not over yet. This is volume 1. So July 1st, they dropped the last 2 episodes of the season, both of which are movie length. Like one of them is 2.5 hours long, insanely long. But I mean, this guy, just this conversation, this scene when he's funny. Like the pizza whole thing. I'm like, okay. He's like, I want him to meet Michael Peña's character from Ant-Man, and then just have a movie together, like a buddy, some kind of adventure.
Yeah. But Max, I also love Eddie. I heard you say him.
Yes.
Earlier. Eddie was so cool. I loved him because he was like this. I've definitely seen a couple of Eddies in my life. This total wild guy.
He was a very real character.
And then he turns around and he has this total soft side that like comes out of no. It was so refreshing to see for some reason. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really liked Yuri.
Yuri, yes.
Yuri.
Yuri's the best.
Yuri was fun.
Big Russian character who's just over the top. I was like, I've been missing characters like this.
He's the guy from Game of Thrones. For the longest time, I was like, where are you at? He's the no man. He's training Arya.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's
It
crazy.
took
I
me
just-
a while.
I
I
have
was
no
like,
idea.
where
He's
are you
great.
at?
He's really
He's
great.
great.
What I'll say, guys, I'll just say this. In this show, the one thing that I've noticed, which don't have enough of these days, and a lot of other shows and movies, is the bad guys are having fun being the bad guys.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you watch
Yeah.
The Dark Knight, I hate to bring up The Dark Knight again because I feel like I bring it up all the time. But like Heath Ledger's Joker, you could
I mean,
tell.
I was
I mean,
surprised.
he was having fun playing that role, and in this show, you could tell that the bad guys were having fun playing the character. Like it's
Yeah.
you're not like they're not too self-serious, and then I love it when that's the case. I mean, this guy here, Jason, is the only guy who's self-serious, like as far as like an antagonist, but
Yeah, and
everybody else I loved.
they do some interesting preacher stuff with him where he's trying to rile people up, and
Mhm.
yeah, honestly, the acting is good in this season. The directing is a lot better, and the writing is great.
It's a
entertaining.
shame they're heading out with this. That should have been the case.
They should
Season 2.
Go out on top. Go out on top.
Well,
yeah.
this isn't the last show, that last season, is it? I thought this is this the
They
were
last
saying-
season, or I think there's
They're
one
saying
more.
this is- I've
There's gonna be
heard-
5th season.
There is.
There's
I
no
heard that they were
What?
gonna expand the universe and do like spin-off
yeah,
stuff, but
for
not
sure.
necessarily more of Stranger Things.
Oh wow. Okay.
Well, you could
Oh.
just do that on Mike's sorry, what's his name? The guy who works at the pizza shop. He needs his own
Argyle?
show.
Argo.
He needs his own show.
Mm.
I would not
Yeah.
watch that show.
I would watch it. Totally watch it. Come on. I would
He
totally
could
watch
be
it.
in an updated Scooby Doo for sure. He'd be a good Shaggy.
Oh yeah.
Shaggy type. Yeah.
Oh, I could see that.
But that's the
Yeah.
other thing. The way they've split everybody up, it's like a very long episode of an extreme episode of Scooby Doo.
Scooby-Doo,
Let's
yes.
split up. Except you're in California, you're in Russia, and we're back home. And it's like they're cutting together all these
It
things.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And so
like it
hopefully-
because
Because
Well,
we
it works, for
care for
sure.
all of them.
Yeah.
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 it's the tricky part about those kind of stories is the balance. You gotta find a way to balance those out, because you can get too ambitious and then some characters get sidelined. I feel like there's a little bit of that, like you guys mentioned, a little bit of that happens. Like, at least as far as I've gone with episode 5, I feel like there's a few characters who haven't had much to do, like Mike, for example. But overall, they're balancing the stories going on in those locations very, very well. Like, you're getting a lot of good. I mean, even like Elle gets separated from the pack, if you will. She's like out in Nevada somewhere, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it works. So yeah, I love it. I can't wait for the 2 more episodes that are left in volume 1. I can't wait to see the 4 hours plus or whatever is going to come with episodes 8 and 9. I don't know about you guys. What are you guys looking forward to July 1st now? Like, it's
that when
I
it's coming
after
out?
watching
It's gonna sneak
finale,
up on you.
I am.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's on
You
my
can-
calendar.
The thing is, like, you can spend a whole day watching all of them. If you have the patience, I think it would be smarter to spread it out. But
No,
watch
you
it.
That's
can
the thing.
say
It's like watching a movie. Literally, like the next episode that I'm going to watch is an hour 15. The one after that is an hour 38. It's
Have
a
fun.
movie. It takes
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, if you love the show, if you watch the show, or I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are like us who are probably watching Stranger Things, but like it's Sunday on Memorial Day weekend in the US, and there's still probably most people haven't finished the first season, because you could binge 8 episodes of Stranger Things previous seasons like that. This 5 episodes in, I'm like, okay, I need a break. But yeah, I told you guys going into the weekend, that was probably the least anticipated of the 3 projects, but coming out of it, it will probably be the best one of the bunch. So let us know if you guys, watched it, haven't watched it, are looking forward to watching it, and if you liked it, leave us a comment. We'd love to know your thoughts. Like,
If
and
there's a
subscribe as
character
usual.
that you think that we remind you of, let us know
Yeah.
in the comments. We always love to hear
Oh.
from you guys.
That's dangerous. But sure,
Said
go
voice.
ahead.